Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuouki Demon of the Fleeting Blossom. We're in the middle of a dire-looking battle, and Hijikata seems to be rather suicidal at the moment. I'm thinking we might actually get our first ending in this episode, but I'm not completely sure. So let's see where it takes us. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. Hijikata let his cold eyes slide slowly across their ranks, and slowly the mumbling ceased.
Anyone else want to run? If you're too scared to fight, go ahead. Be my guest. But anyone who runs will die by this sword. So either I kill you, or you take your chance out there. Up to you.
His eyes were cold and dead. Not a man there would believe for a moment that he wouldn't kill them without a second thought.
That man is a monster.
With one final scowl, Hijikata turned back to the battlefield and took off across it. He ran through the hail of bullets and fell upon the men defending the gate like a vengeful god. I'm beginning to think he can take the place all by himself. His beloved sword, the Izumi no Kame Kanesada, dripped with fresh blood, but he swung it again and again, oblivious or uncaring. I hid myself in the shadows and watched.
Hijikata, just a little more, and we might be able to take this gate.
Shimada's face was smeared with dirt and blood as he ran up toward the commander.
Great, keep it up. I believe in you, Shimada.
The guards fired desperately, but as Hijikata had said, their guns were old and inaccurate. Attacking men with guns head-on was a frightening prospect, but Hijikata seemed to be utterly unconcerned as he dodged and wove through them, his sword ending lives with each stroke. As a fury, he wasn't likely to die from a gunshot wound unless it struck a vital organ, and he healed so quickly that bullets were largely a temporary discomfort. Still, even if he'd been only human, I didn't doubt that he would have run into that hail of bullets just as fearlessly. His hair hadn't gone white yet, but it was still afternoon. It should have been difficult for him to even stand. But to watch him fight, you would never have known.
Amazing! Is he even human? He looks more like a demon straight from hell.
The mood among the men watching Hijikata fight began to change. None of them had likely ever seen a man fight so fearlessly in the face of gunfire, or even at all. His eyes glowed out from his blood-drenched face, and his arm never slowed.
Come on, men. It looks like they're running out of bullets. How about you grow a pair and get over here?
He took a moment to roar over his shoulder before turning back to the important task of killing guards. His fearless charge seemed to have had an effect.
I think we might be able to do it. I think we might be able to win this fight. Yeah, you're right. We might be able to do it. Just follow the Shinsengumi. No, follow Hijikata.
As their morale rose, so did their determination, and the fighting along the gate grew more intense. Then, just after the sun had passed its zenith,
it's open! The castle gate is opening! Did we do it? Did we win?
The news spread along the line like wildfire.
Took a little longer than I thought, but... well, no. Guess this is just about right.
At last he relaxed, and I saw a grin of victory on his face. Don't relax yet.
That was amazing, Commander. You really are a true samurai. Watching you run straight into those bullets. I'm in awe. Hey, kissing my ass isn't going to get you anywhere, Kai. Besides, the castle still hasn't really fallen. Can't let our guard down.
Right. Huh? Before we'd realized it, the soldiers who'd been so reluctant to fight not long ago had surrounded us, all of them speaking to one another in excited murmurs.
Sir, that was amazing! It was like you were Yoshitsune Minamoto reborn. You're truly the commander of the Shinsengumi. We had you all wrong, sir. We're so sorry. You only killed that man so you could lead us to victory. You did it to ensure none of us would leave.
Sir, this is an honor to fight under you. You are a true samurai. The curiosity and fear we'd seen on their faces when we first met were gone now, replaced with respect and adulation.
What's gotten into them?
Now that the battle was over, Hijikata was beginning to look a little ill, and his mood was souring with his health. Are you all right? He'd pushed himself so hard, and during daylight hours, that his body had likely reached its limit. Besides, he'd been showered with who knows how much blood, The bloodlust might start up at any moment. It seemed that only sheer force of will kept him standing.
Of course I'm fine. Can't die till the castle falls.
He rubbed a fist across his face, wiping away sweat and blood at the same time, then turned back to the soldiers.
All right, men, follow me. We're going to attack the castle before dawn. Yes, sir.
Dawn came, and Hijikata led the advance guard in an attack on Utsunomiya Castle itself. Their previous cowardice now forgotten, the troops fell upon the castle's defenders with great vigor.
If they keep this up, taking this castle might be easier than I thought.
He looked at me with a slight grin, just as Shimada appeared.
Hijikata, the men we sent to the banquet hall ran into trouble. What? We haven't seen any real resistance so far. I don't know the details. Should I go see? No, I'll go. I'm leaving you in charge here. Yes, sir.
Hijikata, what should I do?
Come with me. Don't want you wandering around. You might get hit by a stray bullet or something.
Okay. Even before we stepped into the banquet hall, I knew something was wrong. Do we have a demon here? Is this Kazuma or Amagiri? Inside, our men were dead on the floor, their bodies laid out like the spokes of a wheel. And at the hub of that wheel...
What are you doing here? Decided to take a vacation? You do know there's a war out there, right? Or maybe you're just hiding out here, hoping you won't get hurt.
Ah, it's both of them. The only two men still standing in the banquet hall weren't strangers. They were Kazuma and Amagiri, the demons. Why are you here?
We are acting under orders from the Satsuma domain. We are here to deliver a secret message. We did not expect to be drawn into a battle here, and we certainly did not expect to encounter you. Oh, I get it. The new government says bend over and you guys say how far. Well, you're sure dedicated. You got my respect. Well, I didn't think I'd see you again so soon, Hijikata. Or whatever your name is.
Kazuma's eyes glittered like a pair of rubies.
Didn't think you were so anxious to get your face all cut up again. Oh, don't worry. I'm happy to oblige. Damn you.
Kazuma ground his teeth and drew the sword slung at his hip. It wasn't the sword he'd worn the last time we'd met. This one shone in a strange, disquieting way, almost as if it was simply generating its own light rather than reflecting what hit it. I found myself unable to look away.
Killing you will erase the humiliation I suffered at your hand. You and your minions have been a thorn in my side since Kyoto. Today I will have my revenge. Amagiri, you stay out of this. He's mine.
Amagiri sighed and gave a minuscule shrug.
As you wish.
He padded to a corner and folded his arms in silence.
Huh. Guess the face wasn't enough, huh? Maybe if I take an arm this time, you'll get the message.
White washed across Hijikata's hair. He leapt across the room at Kazuma like a bullet from a gun. Kazuma blocked Hijikata's strike calmly, and their blades rattled against one another. Then, Kazuma pushed back, and Hijikata was thrown across the room.
You're not getting away.
In the blink of an eye, he leapt after his opponent and whipped out his sword in a quick slash. Hijikata brought up the kanesada at the last moment, catching Kazuma's strike before it could hit him.
You're slow. Your movements lack finesse. Don't tell me that killing humans has tired you out. Oh, I thought you said something last time about being a demon.
Hijikata's sword began to shake. Kazuma's edged closer. He was right, though. Even with fury-enhanced speed and strength, Hijikata was slower than before, less focused.
Ah, I see. The sun's still up, isn't it? And you don't like the sun much, do you?
A cruel, arrogant grin spread across his face, filled with altogether too many teeth.
Well, don't worry. I won't go easy just 'cause you're weak. After all, a samurai always gives all he can. No matter the situation. That is your code, isn't it? Damn you!
Hijikata leapt backwards, but he wasn't fast enough. Kazuma's sword licked out. The glowing blade traced a brilliant red line across his chest. Blood erupted and splattered to the floor as Hijikata dropped to his knees. The front of his shirt began to turn red, and drops of blood fell to the floor beneath him. But he'd be okay. He was a fury. Any moment now the bleeding would stop.
Huh?
But it didn't. Agonizing seconds stretched on, and still blood flowed from Hijikata's chest.
What is this? What's the matter? Not healing like you should.
Kazuma's grin spread even wider, and he hefted his sword.
This sword is Yatsutsuna's Demon Slayer. It was used by the legendary Yoromitsu Minamoto to kill the demon known as Shun Tendoji. It's been passed down through the Kazuma family for generations, but no one has ever thought to test it on a demon. This seems like an excellent chance to see what it could do. And what do you know? I get to use it to put down a fake demon.
Hijikata met Kazuma's gloating, smirking kind.
Must be getting pretty desperate if you're willing to grab your family's magic sword. Really need something like that to take on a fake demon.
He gave a taunting laugh, but Kazuma's grin didn't even twitch.
You humiliated me for the first time in my life. Nothing is too much, if it'll send you to hell. Your abilities can't heal the wounds this sword gives you. You become a fury to defeat me, but now that sacrifice means nothing.
Hijikata prodded experimentally at the wound on his chest, then climbed slowly to his feet.
So, tell me if I got this right. All I have to do is avoid getting cut by that thing. Hell, before I became a fury, all I did was dodge swords. This'll be easy. Does your impudence know no bounds? Fine. I'll put your short-lived defiance to the test.
The Demon Slayer's blade flickered with blue-white light, and almost seemed to shiver in concert with Kazuma's murderous intent. Suddenly the air seemed thick and oppressive. It was an effort just to breathe, and when I looked at Kazuma, my skin began to crawl. His sword dropped toward Hijikata. He dodged the Demon Slayer, albeit only barely, and brought his own sword up to strike back. But when the Kanesada arrived, Kazuma had simply disappeared. No, I realized he hadn't disappeared, he was simply moving too fast for the eye to see. Hijikata seemed to be able to keep up, but the margin for error was slim and getting slimmer. Kazuma dodged Hijikata's attack with ease, and his riposte slammed into the other man's shoulder, tearing his shirt away to display a fresh ragged wound.
Good, good. Your mind is working desperately, trying to discover how you might kill me. Good, but I want to see more. I want to see your face when you finally realize that you cannot defeat me, that you will die.
Blood poured from his wounds, but Hijikata brought his sword up in time to catch the Demon Slayer. But he'd lost too much blood, and his body was beginning to weaken. Kazuma overpowered him, and Hijikata was thrown back. Then, as if things hadn't gotten bad enough.
What the hell?
The white had disappeared from Hijikata's hair.
Reached her limit, I see. Even a false demon is better than this pathetic existence. You might as well be an insect. No, a worm.
Kazuma's maniacal laughter echoed through the room as he gloated over the nearly unconscious Hijikata.
Now, I want to hear you cry, scream, beg for your life, maggot. You and your filth have stood in my way ever since we met in Kyoto. I'll kill you and erase the Shinsengumi.
Hijikata's head twitched.
Erase the Shinsengumi? You...
He'd lost so much blood. I was amazed that he was conscious, let alone lucid, but as I watched his hands dug into the floor mat like claws, almost as if he were keeping himself up through sheer force of will.
After we left Kondo and the Shinsengumi fell to me, I felt like there was no way I could do it all by myself. I was just about ready to give it all up. But now, when you say you just want to erase everything I did, I'll be damned if I let you destroy the Shinsengumi.
Blood poured from his shoulder and his chest, but still he struggled to stand. The sight of him was so powerful, so tragic, that I couldn't bear to watch. If he didn't stop, he would die. I had to do something. I have to stop Hijikata. Hijikata, no! You're badly hurt! If you use your fury powers... His eyes flicked to me for a moment, and I could see that his mind was already made up. Then they were gone, and he glared at Kazuma.
You really think I care how much of my future I'm going to burn up to get this bastard? I can't let him kill me here. I risked my life for the Shinsengumi. I can't let this bastard and his damn sword get the best of me now. You're practically dead already. What do you intend to do? This charade is pathetic.
Kazuma swung his sword again, almost lazily. Hijikata tried to lift up his kanesada in time to block, but his right hand refused to respond, and Kazuma's sword slammed into his right shoulder. He let out a strangled scream as his arm twitched in pain, his sword tumbling from his grasp. Hijikata's clothes were soaked in blood, and his skin was the color of paper. Only rage and pure willpower kept him upright, but even they were beginning to waver.
I'd hoped you might give me a little more entertainment, but I suppose it's time for me to say goodbye now. Shame you didn't have enough energy to talk. I miss that dry wit.
Hijikata's shoulders shuddered with each labored breath, but still he glared at Kazuma.
What's the matter? Can't hold your sword anymore. Where's that samurai spirit,
He could barely even breathe, but still Hijikata raised his sword toward Kazuma. The tip of his blade dipped and waved. The blood poured from his wounds, but still he stood. Please, I begged. Just stop. Don't die. Just looking at him was enough to make me want to scream. Kazuma lifted that cruel sword, slick with Hijikata's blood, and smiled.
Oh, how I've waited for this moment. At last I can kill you with my own hands and erase the humiliation you gave me.
The sword began to move. Hijikata no longer had even enough strength to lift his blade to block or parry. I could see in his eyes the realization that his death was almost upon him. No! My mind went blank. There was no time for thought, only action. I leapt across the room, faster than I'd ever moved before.
What?
His eyes went wide with surprise, but it was too late. For a moment, everything was silent. Then I fell, sliding backwards onto the floor. Kazuma's sword was the demon slayer. Even my demonic killing wouldn't repair the wound he'd given me.
You idiot! Why did you do that?
He could barely breathe or even speak, but he still managed to sound as if he was scolding me. I tried to turn my head to meet his eyes, but my body no longer moved. All I could see was the ceiling. I coughed blood. The Shinsengumi needs you. Even if Hijikata thought he'd lost his direction, there were still plenty of people who looked up to him. They dreamt of being like him, and they'd follow him into hell without a second thought if he'd asked. He felt lost, but I knew he had the strength to find his way again, and the courage to push ahead. Even if I couldn't be there for him when he found his way back, I believed that there was something there, beyond that hill he'd been climbing for so long. I couldn't let him die before he found it. No, something went wrong. Oh no, okay, I didn't screw up. The guy was fine. I was just reading it wrong because it's like 3 o'clock in the morning again, so I'm all loopy right now. Alright, so anyway, I had to load save file 1 again, and this time going for the next ending, we have to choose to give him some blood. Hijikata was in pain. I had no other choice. With steady hands, I pulled my sword from its scabbard and laid the edge against my fingers ready to cut. But Hijikata's hand on my wrist stopped me. Why? The pain will go away if you drink blood. I tried to pull away, but he held fast and shook his head.
Oh, I'll do it. Just sit still.
He moved around behind me and loosened my collar. I felt the cool air touch my neck, followed by Hijikata's fingers. He was looking for a place to make the cut. A moment later, I felt the kiss of the cold blade against my skin, and then, without a sound, I felt it sink in. I bit my lip at the pain, but said nothing. His warm lips touched the cut on my neck, and then I felt his face press against me as he began to drink. Again and again he drank, as thirsty as a man who had been stranded in the desert. I could feel his breath on my skin. It made me shiver. Never before had I been so close to a man. Nerves made my body begin to twist, until Hijikata's hands grabbed my shoulders. When he spoke, his voice was low and husky.
Don't turn around.
Okay. I suddenly realized that he didn't want me to see him in his fury state. Those few words, the last strained defense of his wounded pride, tore at my heart, and I felt a lump rise in my throat. For his sake, I did my best to calm my breathing, rapid from the nerves and excitement. Though I did my best to hide it, there was no denying that my heart was beating faster and faster.
I'm sorry. I just can't afford to lose it right now.
Was he saying that to convince me or to convince himself? Of course I understand. You don't have to hold back. I want to help in whatever way I can. The day that I watched Denoe and Yamazaki die, I'd felt a horrible, torturous regret. There had been nothing I could do for them. Ever since, I'd cursed myself for being unable to help the Shinsengumi after they'd sheltered and protected me for so long. But now at last, there was something I could do. I could ease Hijikata's thirst. I felt his grip tighten on me. Emotions washed over me. Guilt, disappointment, anger, regret, and I realized they were Hijikata's. His hands were warm. Eventually he let go, slowly, and stepped away. His breathing had returned to normal, and there was color in his face again. With the back of his hand he wiped the last of the blood from his lips and sighed with relief.
Sorry for doing that to you.
Oh no, it's nothing. See, the cut's already closed up. I shrugged my collar back up to my neck and smiled. I'll be staying here for quite a while. So if you ever need me, please, just let me know.
You're telling me I could just drink your blood? Whenever?
Yes. I nodded, and he gave me a crooked smile.
Shouldn't say things like that, kid. Someone's gonna use you up and throw you away.
He was only joking, and I knew it, but there was a part of me that felt that if it was Hijikata who used me up, then maybe it wouldn't really be so bad. And some skipping. Of course, again I went to go with Hijikata. And again, I believe in you. And this is where you have to make your second save file. And again, we have to make him endure it. Hijikata! And this time we get a totally different scenario, apparently. I ran toward him.
Get away from me. I don't want to look at you.
But...
Shut up. That's an order.
His voice was a guttural growl. I stepped back. If it was too painful for him, why wouldn't he just drink my blood? Probably afraid he'll drink it all. But he didn't want that. I couldn't force it on him, so I stood to watch and make sure no one saw him. As I listened to his moans, I couldn't help but wonder, could he really outlast it? Was I doing the right thing? I turned those questions over in my mind all night long, but no answers came. Skippage. And this time we have to stop Hijikata again. Hopefully we won't get killed this time. Then suddenly, an ear-splitting detonation tore through the building. The wood of the castle creaked and moaned, and I could smell something burning.
What is this?
Suddenly distracted, Kazuma flicked his gaze around the room, looking for the source of the interruption.
Fire! Fire! Those cowardly sons of bitches set this damn castle on fire when they ran. We're dead if it catches us. Come on, we gotta get out of here.
The fire spread quickly, and in mere moments the roar of it was deafening. Blades began to lick at the walls of the banquet hall. Black smoke poured into the room, rough and irritating in my throat. The flames leapt to the dry wood and paper of the door, and then to the flammable mats covering the floor. Almost immediately, the floor was plunged into nigh unbearable heat, but neither Hijikata nor Kazuma lowered their sword. Oh, come on, you guys, you're gonna burn up. Both men were waiting for a chance to strike. If either made even the smallest wrong move, he would be cut to ribbons by the other. I'm pretty sure demons are flammable. Tension filled the air until it was thick as the acrid smoke. With the crackling roar and the moan of the tortured wood, a section of the ceiling collapsed to the floor between them. Oh, so much for that duel.
Damn it, this place is coming apart. If I stay any longer, I'll be in danger as well.
He shoved the demon slayer back into its scabbard angrily and glared across the flaming wreckage at Hijikata.
Hiji, whatever your name is.
Not just pretending not to know his name anymore. You've said it right plenty of times.
I'll let you go this time. We'll finish this duel another day. And on that day, I'll finish what we started here. You will die.
With one last grotesque inhuman smile, Kazuma disappeared. Hijikata, are you all right? I ran to him. His face was twisted in pain, and his skin looked like wax. Practically forgotten until now, Amagiri walked toward us from his corner, seemingly unconcerned with the flames around him.
The demon clan no longer intends to involve themselves in the government squabbles.
Hijikata looked up at him, confused. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper.
Why? We owed favors to the Satsumo domain. We feel that we have now repaid those favors. Besides, even you must know that the Shogun will soon fall, regardless of whatever my kin and I do to speed that fall.
His face curled up in a bitter smile.
Yeah. And yet you intend to remain aboard this sinking ship. The Tokugawa never gave your Shinsengumi the recognition it so desired, and betrayed you when you needed them most. Why do you remain loyal?
The truth of Amagiri's words drove a knife into Hijikata's heart, and I saw his face fall. He replied with a sad smile.
Well, a samurai fights for their lord no matter what, right? What I'm fighting for now isn't Yoshinobu or Edo Castle, or any of those cowards that call themselves the shogunate's ministers. What we're fighting for now is the shogunate in here, in our hearts, and the Shinsengumi that we made to protect that. It's not easy, not by a long shot, but I'd feel like a real bastard if I let it die before Kondo comes back. Amagiri had closed his eyes while Hijikata spoke. Now he stood silent for a moment, then slowly opened them. If Kazuma chooses to involve himself with either of you again, he will have betrayed the moral code that binds all of our kind. He will no longer have the support of the clans. He will be on his own. I imagine this will be of little concern to him, but I ask you to bear that in mind when he next assaults you, that he is not doing so at the behest of the demon clans. He is, I fear, your problem now.
Then Amagiri turned and disappeared. At last, Hijikata collapsed, although from relief or simple exhaustion I couldn't tell. Hijikata, are you okay? What do you think? Why do you keep asking that? But he had passed out. And how are we going to carry him out of the flames by ourselves? Amagiri, come back, we need you, you're not done. No matter how much I shook him or cried his name, he refused to open his eyes. Shimada, are you around? The fire had grown more intense, and I was beginning to sweat in earnest. If we didn't get out, and soon, we would both burn to death. But how could I move Hijikata? He was far too heavy for me to carry on my own.
Commander, Yukimura, where are you?
Thank goodness. From down the hall came Shimada's voice. In that moment, it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever heard. Shimada, we're over here. Hijikata is... Moments later, Shimada burst through the door, scattering sparks and burning fragments across the room.
Commander, hang on. I'll get you out of here.
He just passed out a minute ago, but he's lost a lot of blood. If he doesn't get treated soon, he'll...
Wait, okay. I'll carry him. You'll have to follow behind me. Try not to inhale too much of the smoke.
Without even waiting for my reply, Shimada hefted Hijikata onto his back and set off at a jog. Okay. In the end, it didn't matter. The castle that Hijikata had risked his own life to take was taken back by the Imperial Army only 4 days later, with nearly 20,000 soldiers from the Satsuma, Choshu, Ogaki, and Totori domains. After the battle, Otori and the rest of the soldiers set out for Aizu. Hijikata had miraculously survived his ordeal, but he was by no means recovered. He drifted in and out of consciousness for days, hovering at death's door, and was eventually sent away from the front to Nikko so he could recover. Since we'd arrived in Nikko, I busied myself doing my best to take care of him. As a Fury, most normal medication had little to no effect on him. Most of my nursing, therefore, consisted of fervently hoping that his natural strength and tenacity would bring him through. My therapeutic strategy is hope. Fortunately, my prayers seemed to pay off, and in time his wounds began to heal, although those made by Kazuma's demon slayer did not do so easily or quickly. I found myself thinking back to the battle at Utsunomiya. After watching Hijikata in battle, the same soldiers who had been too frightened to fight just minutes before had run to cross swords with the enemy. Afterward, they had told him that it was an honor to fight alongside the Shinsengumi, for they were true samurai. Hijikata, you are the core of the Shinsengumi. Without you, there is no Shinsengumi. So please, you can't die. Several days later, I walked into Hijikata's room to change his bandage, and was brought up short by what I saw. Hijikata, what are you doing? He'd recovered some, enough to move and speak without pain, but he was still confined to his bed. Or at least, he was supposed to be. When I said you were healthy enough to get up, I didn't mean you were healthy enough to work.
It'll only take a minute. I'm going back to bed as soon as I finish this.
His voice was as dismissive as it had always been. He flicked a hand in my direction, as if to brush me off. You nearly died. You need to rest.
Died? Me? That was nothing. Barely a scratch.
Barely a scratch? Do you know how long I've been taking care of you? He continued to write, not even bothering to look up.
Fine, fine.
I'd hoped for a little more contrition, but it appeared I was going to have to take what I could get. Aww. Well, at least let me put this on you. You're going to catch a chill. As I spoke, I draped his old jacket across his shoulders.
As if you'd listen if I didn't let you.
I'm glad to see you understand how it works. Now, as soon as you finish that, you're going straight back into bed. And don't even think about working behind my back. I got my eye on you. At last, Hijikata turned and looked at me, his face quirked in a small bitter smile.
All right, fine. Sorry for putting you through all that trouble.
He was more polite than I'd expected. Huh? Had I heard wrong? I stared back at him intently.
Guess I should be thanking you and Shimada, huh? Well, I appreciate what you did. Thanks.
Hijikata's thanks were rarely unaccompanied by cynicism, sarcasm, or outright derision, but this... What had come over him? He was strangely genuine.
Something wrong? What? Did I say something funny?
Oh, no, it's not that. It was more that I'd never seen Hijikata act so... nice.
They'll get used to it.
Later that night...
So, the commander's really back on his feet?
I also heard he's improved, so I thought I'd stop by and pay him a visit. And we're gonna go ahead and cut this video off here, on that somewhat happy note for once. I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.